So this is chapter 13. So we have come to the final 6 chapters of Jnana, that is transcendental wisdom. This will help us to become detached from the material aspirations and simultaneously we get attached to Krishna. So this is Kshetra, Kshetragna, Vibhaga, Yoga, chapter 13, nature, the enjoyer and the consciousness. So let's give a prayer obeisances to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanakta Shalakaya Chakshunvitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tan Savjevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka and Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpataru Abhyascha Kripa Sindhu Aveyevacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Vani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschadesha Tarini Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let's do a quick recap on what we did yesterday. That was on chapter 12, devotional service. So there we saw that personal devotion to Krishna is the supreme. That is not to the which form the Krishna Arjuna asked. So he says the personal form, Shyamchandra form is the personal devotion to Krishna is the supreme. Okay. And then he goes to talk about the different options. He says the Anyanya Bhakti, that is doing unalloyed devotion, is the highest perfection, right? But he knows it is very difficult to achieve that perfection. So he says, if you cannot, I know it's difficult, please do this sadhana bhakti. That is, you do with regulations. Whatever the acharyas give you the regulations and the strictures, you follow that, do the sadhana, and slowly you will gradually, your devotion will increase, it gets strengthened, and you will come to the level of Anyanya Bhakti. But even if you cannot follow the sadhana bhakti, then he gives you one more thing. That is, you work for me. That is, whatever work you do, you offer the fruits to me. In whatever work you do, you eat or any activity. So he says Nishkama Bhakti. Now, then he goes to the other level. Okay, you can't do that. At least do the Sakama Bhakti. That is, if you can't give it to me, you at least give as a charity. A lot of philanthropic activities you can do. That is, you will be in the mode of giving, no, not just enjoying yourself. Okay, even if you can't do that, then you can take to Jnana and Dhyana. So these are the different levels. He's quite merciful. And he says he understands that it's not that easy to get to the highest perfect of bhakti, but you can gradually be on the path of spiritual consciousness, okay, spiritual path. Then he proceeds to describe the qualities of devotee, how their attitude is, and how they deal with others, and how they react to the events, and they're dealing with the Lord. They are beyond the duality. And that those things will help us to cultivate that. So that's how he concluded the chapters on bhakti. Okay, now we are coming to chapter 13. So here it starts with Arjuna asking 6 questions. So here, what is that? In fact, in this chapter, he will cover topics which we have previously discussed. Okay, there will be some, we have talked about material nature, we have talked about jiva and all that, but he again discusses them in a more analytical way. Okay, so that way the wise readers can take advantage of this logical presentation made by Krishna. This will strengthen our connection and deepen our understanding. So that is the motive. So Arjuna asked Krishna to define 6 subjects, 6 questions. What is that? Prakriti, nature, Purusha, enjoyer, Kshetra, field of activities, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, and process of knowing, and Neyam, the object of knowledge. So actually these questions, whatever is asking, the description of Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnana, and all that, process of occurring, these all are the constituents of Vedic philosophy. So Krishna now, he spends the entire chapter defining and discussing them. So now actually what we saw, Arjuna finally says, no, I accept everything, and he and my illusions are all gone and all that. But why is he again going back and iterating and asking this? So that we people can get better understanding. Okay. And so Krishna describes the whole thing. Kshetra, Kshetrajna, how to process of acquiring knowledge, what is the object of knowledge, then Prakriti, Purusha, and things. So vision of knowledge. So bhakti is the personal devotion to Krishna. We saw that, right? Then if bhakti is the culmination, why is jnana presented in the last 6 chapters? This might be a question in all of us, back of mind. And in truth, actually, the Bhagavad Gita is all about devotion. Okay, it's all about bhakti. The first 6 chapters we discussed about karma yoga. No? So that was to achieve bhakti through work. Okay, and the last 6 describe how to achieve it through knowledge. And the middle 6 discusses bhakti itself. That's what we saw in the last 6 chapters from 7 to 12. It all was about devotion, what is the form, and how to remember him at the time of death and all that. Now in 12th chapter, Krishna explained how he personally delivers his devotees from birth and death. He says he swiftly comes and takes as long as we do the bhakti to us. Now, jnana, what is it? Jnana means the knowledge. It has its use in assisting our detachment from Maya and our attachment to Krishna. So he says to turn to Krishna now and not towards Maya. So this knowledge, by getting this knowledge, it will help us that. So this 6 chapters will give the philosophical knowledge to excrete ourselves from the material. So this is the motivation. Hence, we use knowledge as a means to attain devotion. So it becomes a part of bhakti. Okay, that's why it's known as Jnana Yoga, the last 6 chapters. So what does Arjuna say? Oh, my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, that is nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and the knowledge, and the end of knowledge. That is the reason. Then blessed Lord said, this body, son of Kunti, is called the Kshetra, that is the field. Okay, and who knows this body is called the knower of the field, Kshetrajna. So Kshetra means this is the body, the Sharira which we have. That is Kshetra, the place, and Kshetrajna is the one who knows this field. Okay, so these are the 6 questions by Arjuna. That is, what is Prakriti? Prakriti is the material nature. Purusha is the enjoyer of this Prakriti. Kshetra is the body, Shariram. Kshetrajna is the observer in the body. That is the soul, no? We say Jiva. But along with Jiva, we have super soul also. So they are the knowers in this body. Then Nayam is the knowledge. Jnanam is knowledge. Understanding the relation between the body and that is what is body and soul and super soul. That understanding is known as knowledge. And Nayam is the goal of knowledge. The goal of knowledge is to get to go to Parma. That is this. Okay. So these are the questions he asks. So what do you mean that? Krishna says, Shretajnam chapi mam vidhi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata Kshetra Kshetrajnor Jnanam Yat Tas Jnanam Matam Mama. Oh, son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and the owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Mata ma mama. So what we see in this picture, this is when we are in awake state. That is, you are talking on the phone and you are awake. You're awake the wholly. So the body is awake, the gross body, the mind is also awake, your soul and Paramatma are there. But in a dream, when you're sleeping, your body is at rest. Okay. But the mind is there, active, state. So that's why you get also dreams and all that, because of your mind, which is a subtle body. But your both soul and super soul is all observing. When you go into deep sleep, both the body and the subtle body goes to sleep. But your soul and Paramatma, here are there awake. They are active throughout. Okay. This is what we see in this Bhagavad Gita. Here, what Krishna says. So, and this is another way of explaining about this Kshetra. So you have a field, right? There's a field, agriculture field, and then you have a farmer. Okay, he is the one there. So farmer is here, and he knows what all he has sown. No? He is the one who is cultivating the land and all that. He knows what is happening in this. But this land is owned by the king. Okay, and you are just using it by the thing. He's the original proprietor, and you are the afters. So the king will not only know this, but he also knows the other thing, right? Likewise, we have the super soul. Super soul is here in this, that's the sun and things. So super soul knows what all you're doing, and he also knows only what's happening in other fields also. So you know only what you have done. That is, the soul knows only about this body and its activities. Whereas the super soul, Paramatma, knows about the activities of you as well as activities of the others. Like the king also knows the whole thing, no? What is happening in other fields and all that, even the king knows. So this is the understanding, that is a relation between Kshetra and Kshetra. And actually, it is slightly difficult, but this is it might think it's more complicated, but it's very simple to understand the relation, the difference between the soul and the super soul. Okay, so what fruit he gets, he might think, so he knows, not the others, right? That then all these things are given. All this, whatever we're talking about, the field of activities and the knower of activities and all, as described by various sages in various Vedic writings. So it is not that now only the Krishna is saying, so Arjuna is understanding. It's not that. It is already given. So in the Vedas. So Krishna is also following the standard of speaking, like, give references. So you see, he gives references from the Vedas. He says it's there already, it's been presented. Actually, if you want to know the knowledge, or if you want to tell some philosophy, what we have to do is we also have to give evidence and a reference from the scriptures, saying that this is what it is said in such and such a scriptures, the Upanishads, or things. Then only you have gets an authentificate. Even when you do your thesis, research and all that, then you do give references to whatever you're corroborating your work. Same way here, Krishna is saying that all these the knowledge, which is talking about the thing, is already given in the Vedas. And Vedanta Sutra also. This Vedanta Sutra is presented with all reasoning as to cause and effect. What do you mean by cause and effect? Like, what is the child? A child is the effect, and the cause is the father and mother. So the father and mother is present in the child. Because of the father and the mother, the result is the child. So that is it. Same way, Krishna created this world. So he is the cause, and the world is the effect. And he is present everywhere. So now, this is the cause and effect, which is clearly explained in the Vedanta Sutra. Now we are going to give an explanation from this same thing, from the Tantric Upanishads. So we can realize Krishna's presence depending on our level of consciousness. To start with, the lowest is the Annamaya Kosha. That is, we know all about Krishna's presence in food, the food grain. That means we, the baby, as a child, the child is only interested on eating, isn't it? The thing for him, nothing matters. All he is a thing he wants to eat. That's all his enjoyment is. Same way that is in the start with, we realize the Krishna presence through the grains, through the food. Annamaya Kosha will be there. You can go a little higher when the consciousness, when you go level increases, then you start appreciating Krishna's presence in the form of life, that is life force. Oh, I'm living. We exist because Krishna exists. Yeah. This way, at this level, what we do is we think about how to survive, how to maintain the family, the friends, society. This all comes into that consciousness, that level of understanding. Okay. So there, by necessity, we are absorbed in our day-to-day existence, and our thoughts are all focused on work, the family, friends, entertainment. That is, we try to live the best as we can and see that we don't get problems or anything. That's all our consciousness. That is all we think about. That is where we are in the Pranamaya Kosha. So if we continue to live this life without being attacked or destroyed, we think, we are happy, we are settled and no problems and all that. So that is the Pranamaya Kosha. Then there's another level go up. That is when you start thinking, stepping back and trying to understand what this life is all about. Is it just eating, sleeping and thing, or is it something beyond? Is there more to our life? Is this state? Then you start questioning everything. Why do I have to die? What is the purpose here? Is there something beyond? So philosophically inquiring starts. So then you start about the thing. So that is what is the pressing matters of life. So that is when you come to the Jnanamaya Kosha. That's the beginning of the, so you start going above the stage of Jnanamaya. Slowly, Manonmaya, when you start speculating, start thinking about yourself and all that. Then Vedic scriptures tell us to go beyond that. What is that? Come to Vijnanamaya Kosha. So actually the civilization is a mix of these three stages only. Okay, economic development, how to live happily in the world. So that simply philosophy, they keep debating about the ways of life, how to be happy materially and all that. So Jnanamaya comes, that's when our spiritual consciousness starts from here. Here you start realizing I am the spiritual, I am my condition, what is my relation with the Lord, and you start thinking I am the body, not the body, I am the soul, and there is a super soul there, so Paramatma, and we start looking at that level. So that's when one understands he's there. So, and he is not the body and not even the mind. Here we were all at the mental level, right? So here we start going beyond that. So that is the starting point of our spiritual life. Okay. And here we will only understand two features, Chat and Chit. Okay, that is all. But we have to go beyond that. That is the Anandamaya Kosha. So that's when you get the highest perfection. So we need to go beyond this towards this. Because the soul will never be happy unless you are in this. Because unless you reach this state, the soul cannot be happy. Then, so this is the hierarchy. We go from this, from Annamaya Kosha to the Anandamaya Kosha. That is given from Tantric Upanishads. And so this is what our Vedic scriptures tell us. Okay. And so now what are the material elements? In, from 13.6.6 and 7 verses, Krishna says there are 5 great elements. Which are the 5 great elements? Our gross elements, that is our earth, Panchagoshas, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So 5 great elements, then false ego intelligence. They are the subtle. The unmanifested. Unmanifested are the material nature, modes of nature. Then the 10 senses. What are the 10 senses? We have the 5 senses for acquiring knowledge and 5 working senses. 5 working senses are legs, hands, voice, and the senses. And then we have the mind and the 5 sense objects. 5 sense objects are smell, taste, warmth, touch, sound, and the mind. So these are the 20, 10 plus 5 plus 15 plus 8 plus 6. You get the around 24 elements we have, which will interact with each other. This is how these interactions, the combination things, which will result in desiring, the hatred, happiness, distress, all that aggregate, the life symptoms and convictions, all these are considered to be the field of activities and interactions. This is how the whole thing gets into the effect of these senses are our desire, hatred, happiness, distress. It's a mixture of everything. So, I can give an example. Some mataji was telling us, suppose I want a sari. So I will think, oh, I must get that blue sari, otherwise I think. So you start thinking about it, and unless I purchase it, my life is useless. You go to that level, and finally you'll be meditating in this. So what is the sari made of? Is of the 5 gross elements. So my desire is dependent on one of these 24 elements. So we are still hung up on the Annamaya, Pranamaya koshas. So it is very integrated. It's not that easy to come out of these levels of consciousness, to go higher in the consciousness. And also, Mataji was telling us that if you ask somebody who's not in Krishna consciousness and how was your life, they will come up with a huge life story saying how they struggled, how they had so many battles to fight, how they progressed from living in a hut to the palace, and they will go on and on about their success story. And that means they have not moved out of these 24 elements. They are still engaged in that only. They are only with the menial knowledge. And if you want to see, the spiritualism, everyone thinks they have a birthright to comment on the philosophy. They are proud and the philosophically intent and want to talk without any reference. So that means they are only talking what is in the mind, which is again one of these 24 elements. So we are actually going from one desire to another desire, means that we are moving from one birth to another body, right? So that's what we are still in this, entangled in these 24 elements. So that's what Krishna describes here, that these are the field of activities and its interactions, which is what we are feeling. Then now he's telling, see, all this knowledge he said, in the last chapters we saw in chapter 10 also, that he gave us the knowledge, the lamp of knowledge, the jnana deepena within our heart. So unless that comes, if you has to give us the knowledge from within our heart, like from the Cheta Guru thing, then we should have some cultivated very good qualities. Unless we cultivate certain qualities, then we cannot understand the knowledge he gives. Okay, understanding. So to come to that understanding, what are the qualities is what he's giving, and he's explaining in this verses from 8 to 12. Amanitvam adamvitam ahimsa shantir arjavam archapasanam shaucham stairyam atma vinigraha indriyatesu vairagyam ahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu darshanam ashaktirana vishvanga putra dara grahadashu nityam sa samachittatam. Ishtan opposes. So these are the items of knowledge to escape the prison of material life. Mahi chana yogena bhakti vyacharini vivikta desha sevita arati jana samasani adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshana eta jnanam hiti prokta. So if you want to understand this, in English we can come up. He is talking about these qualities. Humility. Humility is the foremost. Amanitva. That means we should not be anxious to have satisfaction of being honored. We should be very humble. Unless we are humble, we cannot bow down to a spiritual master to get the his blessings and to try to understand whatever he's talking us, right? And pridelessness, that is Adam Bevtam. Understanding you are not the body, and thus honor and dishonor are the same. You're the soul. So whatever you think you're getting is you think it is because if you are in the body level, then you will be disturbed by this. Maybe if you're not honored or if you get dishonored, if somebody abuses and all that, then we get into that. That these are very difficult to cultivate. But if you start realizing that importance, then you can cultivate these qualities. Non-violence, ahimsa. Unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. Tolerance, be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. Simplicity, arjavam, so straightforward that you can disclose the truth even to an enemy. Accepting a spiritual master, acharya upasan. This is very essential. Because unless we accept a spiritual master, then we'll never be able to be guided and to be in the path of spiritual life. Cleanliness, shaucham. And shaucham is cleanliness not only has a body, external shaucham, but also internal. Internal is through chanting Mahamantra. Steadiness, therium, determined to make progress in life. That is the determination. Unless you desire and you want to make progress in spiritual life, then only you can. That is the first step. Self-control, Atma Vinigra. Reject anything unfavorable to spiritual advancement and control your senses. Renunciation of sense objects, Vairagya. Not to cater to unnecessary demands. Gratified only to keep body fit for. You need to keep your body fit, no, for devotional service. Otherwise, how can you survive? So, absence of false ego, anankara, ahankara. Reject I am this body or mind. Accept that I am Krishna's servant. This is what the basic thing is. Okay. And most essential is to accept a spiritual master. Then other qualities are these. Perception of evil. That is, we should know that these are the 4 miseries in life. Regularly here. That is what are the Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. That is birth, death, diseases, and Jara is old age. Okay, regularly hear about these from the proper source. That is from the, then you will get detached by the material life. Detachment, Ashakti, be ready to sacrifice everything for Krishna. No entanglement with wife, children, family, etc. This is not that we should practice it if you can do it in a Krishna conscious way and renounce if unfavorable for Krishna consciousness. Okay, this is very difficult. It still takes us a lot of practice and to be in this, to come to this understanding. Even-mindedness, Nitya Shama Sittatvam, not elated or distressed at material gain or loss by performing unbreakable devotional service. Unalloyed devotional service, engaging oneself in the 9 process of bhakti, that is Shravana, Kirtam, Smaranam. I will tell you in the end, what are these 9 processes are. Aspiring to live in a solitary places, not decide. Solitary place means we not decide to mix with materialistic people. Live in the association of devotees. Otherwise, you will be entangled into the material world only. Detachment from the general mass of people, as above. Then accepting the importance of self-realization. Give up unnecessary sporting, cinema going, social activities. Avoid wasting time, even though a lot of we spend time with the mobile and all that. Then philosophical search. Tattva Gnata, rejection of useless research and philosophical topics. So these are the qualities, these are items of knowledge which Krishna is elaborating, because that is the way to having a Ananya Bhakti. And Acharya Upasanam is important. And most important is being humble, humility, non-violence, self-control, and discharge from general mass of people. Okay, so that. So now he explained all this, all knowledgeable. What is the thing? So next is coming. Now I shall explain the knowable knowing which you will taste the eternal. That is Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. That is, you should, now is going to explain about the noble. What is the Neyam? Because that's the thing what you asked. So, what is that? Super soul is the original source of all senses. Head is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature. At the same time, he is the master of all modes of nature. So, apparently it looks like contradictory, but the senses, his senses are all transcendental. It's not like, no, we can't equate our senses to his, because ours is all mundane and it is blunt senses. So here we have to see that we are caught in the Maya modes of nature, but he is the controller of Maya, is the master of all the modes of nature. So this is what we have to understand. He says, no, if you understand this, then this is the knowledge. Then supreme truth exists both internally and externally in the moving and non-moving. He is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, is also near to all. So this is the thing. How does it exist? Internally, he is there with us as a Paramatma, and externally, he is everywhere. No, he's pervading. No, we saw his energy is pervading in all that, in the earth, in the sunlight, and everything. We saw earth, sky, and all. Then we saw this in the chapter 10 also, no, when he talked about his vibhutis and everything. So, so we can see Krishna. And also we can see Krishna by chanting. That is, we use our tongue and we start chanting. We speak and also hear we chanting. And also we can see Krishna by taste the prasadam and by the tongue. So these are the things. So he's far away, but he's also near to all. Then the supreme, this is how, no, when Parikshit Maharaj, when he was inside the womb, he could see the Lord, because Brahmastra was coming, Ashwatthama had sent it, and Krishna had to enter into the womb and protect the Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj, while he was in the womb of his mother, he has seen the Paramatma. So he is also inside as well as outside. He is beyond the power of the material senses to know. And he is the source of all light in all the luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and manifested, is the object of knowledge and is the goal of knowledge. Okay, that is what the Krishna is about. So we should, I know it's little complicated to understand, but this is the essence. And essence is being pictured in this picture is very nice. Here now we see two birds. Okay, and this bird is more interested in enjoying the fruits here. It starts going, it is located in the same tree, but this bird is more interested in eating the fruits and things that it doesn't look up. Whereas the other bird is waiting there patiently, observing what all this bird is doing. And then only when we lift our head and turn towards the Lord, this is the Lord, Paramatma, and this is our Jiva. Only when we turn towards him, then only we can take our find our goal of life. Okay, that is, this is taken by from the Upanishads. Thus, the field of activities, knowledge, and the noble have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. So only with devotional service, only with devotees who can understand this knowledge. That's what here Krishna says. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. They are eternal. Their transformation and the modes of matter are products of material nature, because we are in the mode. And we think what is happening, the problem with us is because we want to enjoy the nature. That spirit of enjoying is there, but actually the true enjoyer is the Lord. So but we saw in chapter 5, Bhoktaram, Krishna says, I am the enjoyer and the Maheshwaram is the controller and everything. So actually we should serve, if we water the roots, then the water will go to all the leaves and the stem and everything. Same way, if we do the devotional service to the Lord and is satisfied, then we also get the same satisfaction. So the enjoyer is the Lord. So we should understand that. Otherwise, we are caught in the clutches of Maya. So entanglement of soul with Prakriti, he is explaining. And nature is said to be the cause of all the material activities and effects, whereas living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyments. We feel these things because of our mind, okay? And we are the ones who desire. Because of our desire only the activities are performed, and hence we have to bear the consequences, okay? That's what here he says, Shukha Dukhanam Bhokta Hetu Shushati. So various sufferings, enjoyments we have to go. Then we might think, why is Krishna creating so many types of living entities? So, and because we are associating with various modes of nature. That's the reason why we have to take with different forms, different bodies. The living entity in material nature thus follows the way of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. He meets with good and evil amongst the various species. Okay, Purusha, Prakriti, Soti. Yet in this body, there is another, a transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as an overseer and permitter, and who is known as a super soul. So this knowledge, we should keep it in our mind. See, the knowledge doesn't mean that information and you have to memorize it. It's not that. You have to understand. You have to clearly understand the philosophy and what's the thing underlining behind it. Okay. And one who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Here we see Parikshit Maharaj sitting and listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam without taking any food or water or anything for this, because he knows he has got only 7 days to live. And it is Shukadev Goswami is narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he is listening to it with full attention. So it is important to cultivate Krishna consciousness now. Otherwise, our future will not be so bright. And we should also realize the relationship between the living entities, nature, and our relation with the super soul. That is the underlying thing. And here, okay. So some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others working without fruitive desires. So what happens is, it's not that we tell you to become a yogi and all that and go and sit in the forest and all that. There are people who would like to see Krishna in the Shastras. That is, they would like to read, to cultivate the knowledge. Try to go through the Shastras and read the scriptures to understand Krishna. So, okay. Then some would like to meditate on it. Okay, so the super soul is perceived by some through meditation, by some through cultivation of knowledge in Shastras, and by others through working without fruitive desires, by working karma. Okay, so you can do all that. So the methods also is given, how to realize Paramatma. Then here is Kapila Muni, he is explaining this entire science, Sankhya philosophy. This whatever we had talked now, this whatever was being explained in this particular chapter, now it was just a part of the Sankhya philosophy which Kapila Muni was explaining to his mother Devahuti. And it is given in the 3rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the supreme person upon hearing about him from others. So Devahuti was just heard all this from his son, and she started worshipping the supreme person. Because of the tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. So here, Krishna is talking about the importance of hearing from authorities. So even if you can't read or meditate, at least if you start hearing it from the authorities about the Lord, then you can also transcend this path of birth and death. So we saw Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, and now hearing. Hearing is Bhakti Yoga. So these are all the process towards Krishna. O chief of Bharatas, whatever you see in existence, both moving and unmoving, is only a combination of the field of activities and knower of fate. Okay, this is just a combination. But one who sees a super soul accompanying the individual soul in all the bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul is ever destroyed is actually seen. So he can realize that super soul and soul is in there in everything, whether it's an animal or a bird or a thing, is all that. That is how, as one who has realized this, no, he sees actually, he can see that. And then one who sees the super soul in every living being equal everywhere does not degrade himself by his mind. So he doesn't go into mental speculation. He will approach the transcendental destination. So one who can see that all activities are performed by body, which is created of material nature, sees that the self does nothing but actually sees. Okay. So know the real doer. So this is actually, chapter is quite not that easy to understand, but it is a philosophy is being explained more logically. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in the body. So it's like, in the sky, there'll be a lot of smell. I mean, there'll be fragrances of the rose, wind will blow and all that, but still the sky is not mixing. The air doesn't mix with the things. And so like the soul is, you are using this body to go here and there, right? It has nothing to do with the body. Okay. That means it's only, you're not mixing with, the soul doesn't mix with the body. It is just using the body to do some activities. So son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, thus the living entity, one within the body, illuminates the entire body by consciousness. So he is reiterating the same principle. He keep repeating and repeating and repeating so that we can understand it properly. One who knowingly sees this difference between the body and the owner of the body can understand the process of liberation from this bondage. Then he can also go to the supreme goal. Okay, so this was quite a repetition, but still it was iterated so that we can understand. So we studied about the Kshetrajna, what was the Jnana, process of acquiring knowledge, and to know the relationship between the Kshetrajna, and what was Prakriti's role, and our enjoyer, who is the true enjoyer. Okay, this was the knowledge. We saw the values and how to apply practice great teaching. So actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says you do Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Goro Krishna, Shiksha. As I said, no, we have the 9 process of bhakti. Now, the bhakti is what being explained here. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, worshipping. Then Pada Sevanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, and Shakya, and the Atma Nivedana. So if you want to see the examples, no, it is given from, I think Shravanam is Parikshit Maharaj, we can say. Kirtanam is Shukadev Goswami, he always keeps glorifying the Lord. Vishnu Smaranam was Prahlad Maharaj, was all the time remembering in the Krishna. Pada Sevanam is Lakshmi Devi, Devi Lakshmi. Archanam is Maharaj Prithu. Vandanam is Akrura. Dashyam is Hanuman. Arjuna is the Sakyam, serving as friend. Complete surrender was Bali Maharaj. Okay. So this is quite a little tough, but it's a philosophy we saw. With this, I close. Vancha kalpatru abhyascha kripa sindhu aveyevacha patitam nam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Please chant and be happy. I will close this in the show. I'm sorry. Can't do that. And I didn't